Let's get Brexit done by October the 31st.
Come what may.
Come what may.
Do or die.
Come what may. Do or die. Come what may.
He's said it again and again.
Will we definitely have left by November?
By November, you bet.
And he said it most emphatically last month.
Can you make a promise today to the British public that you will not go back to Brussels and ask for another delay to Brexit?
Yes.
And
I can.
And would you
I'd rather be dead in a ditch.
But would he? Despite all the rhetoric, the evidence put before a Scottish court today suggests the Prime Minister might just be preparing to delay Brexit. And in this court, because campaigners are seeking a ruling to force the PM to comply with the law. What these judges were presented with, government papers that said Boris Johnson will send a letter to the EU asking for a Brexit delay if no deal is agreed by the 19th of October.
It appears to be that the Prime Minister thinks his role is that of an ambassador for the country in the sense of being an honest man sent of God to lie to foreigners for the good of the country. But unfortunately, the Prime Minister is not naturally an honest man, and he hasn't only been lying to foreigners on this point.
The Prime Minister maintains there will be no delay and the law will be complied with. Both simply aren't possible, says the man behind the court action.
The purpose of this action is to make clear to the Prime Minister that if he does not do what he has undertaken, what he has said to the court that he will do, there will be personal, penal consequences for him. This is not a Prime Minister who we can trust. We know this because he is telling Parliament one thing and he's telling the court something else, and those two statements cannot be reconciled with one another.
Not so, said a Downing Street source today. The government will comply with the law designed to block no deal, they said, adding the law can be interpreted in different ways. The source went further though. But, they said, the government is not prevented by the Act from doing other things that cause no delay, including other communications, both private and public. People will have to wait and see how this is reconciled. The government, they said, is making its true position on a delay known privately in Europe, and this will become public soon. And by this afternoon, the Prime Minister was talking by tweet. New deal or no deal, but no delay. No detail either. And detail is what this man wants. Leo Varadkar is far from convinced Boris Johnson's new Brexit proposal is passable, either in Europe or even possibly in the UK.
It's not abundantly clear to us that there's any agreement that will secure a majority in the House of Commons, but we have to work towards that, and we're willing to do so.
Tonight, the European Commission said member states agreed the UK proposals do not provide a basis for concluding an agreement. So the question now, just where does the Prime Minister go next?
Well, Boris Johnson's former rival for the Conservative leadership, Rory Stewart, has quit the party. He says he'll run as an independent in next year's London mayoral election. The ex-cabinet minister was among the 21 rebels who had the whip removed after voting to block a no-deal Brexit. I sat down with him a short while ago in Westminster and began by asking whether he was pleased with what emerged in those Scottish court papers.
Yes, Parliament is the lawmaking body. Parliament passed the law, voted for an extension. That is the law.
And yet the government appears to be saying one thing in court, in public, and then the politicians privately briefing something completely different, that the UK will leave on October the 31st, dead in a ditch, come what may. How do you explain that?
Well, it's bizarre. I mean, I've been trying to work this out since May.
Is there a clever wheeze?
No, I don't think so. I think, though, since May, because he's kept saying we're going to leave on the 31st of October, everybody imagines there must be some magic trick. I don't think there's any magic trick at all. I think the law is the law, and there cannot be a no-deal Brexit.
You had this quite theatrical sort of resignation that people didn't quite know whether to believe or not last night. You were reading out a letter from Boris Johnson's old teacher, which described him as disgracefully cavalier. Is that how you view the Prime Minister, and has that informed your decision?
Look, there's no secret that I disagree with the Prime Minister, and I ran a very strong leadership campaign against him, a lot of which was about my sense that I didn't like the way that he did politics. We cannot become Trumpian. We can't allow our country to be torn in two and divided in this way, because politicians can divide things very quickly in a matter of months. And I think the Mayor of London position is actually an ideal position for an independent, because it allows me to speak just for London. In the end, I don't really know how these other candidates are comfortable defending their leaders.
You want Brexit, albeit a compromise deal on Brexit. You want to deliver Brexit. London voted 60% to remain in the EU. How do you think your sort of Brexitiness is going to go down in the capital?
Firstly, of course, I voted Remain, like 60% of people in London.
And you would do so again?
In a second referendum, if it came along, yes, I suppose I would. But I don't want to be back in that universe. I want us to try as a nation to compromise. I want us to try to come together to find a way through this. I think the problem about our current situation is it's a paralysis.
I know you like to be honest. You pride yourself on that. So be honest with me. Do you feel any sense of guilt that you, with your background, will be putting paid to the chances of a Jamaican, comprehensive, educated son of a single mum, Sean Bailey?
I think in politics, you have to focus on what you can do to bring change. And of course it's true that if I became Mayor of London, that would mean that Sean Bailey didn't become Mayor of London and Sadiq Khan didn't become Mayor of London.
You didn't quite answer the question. I said, did you feel at all guilty about it?
No, I don't think in politics that one feels guilty about standing against other candidates because it's a democracy.
I just wanted to put 2 points from your voting record to you. You voted 47 times to reduce spending on welfare benefits and 11 times to reduce housing benefits, the so-called bedroom tax. With the benefit of hindsight, do you wish you'd voted a different way?
No, I think we had to, I'm afraid, significantly reduce public spending because our debt was getting completely out of control. I think our economy was in a very dangerous situation in 2010.
Finally, a crucial mayoral question. What's your favourite London boozer?
My favourite London boozer? God, I'm not a big boozer. It's a terrible question.
Okay, you don't have to have, alcohol in a pub. But
you don't have to have alcohol. No, I like, I'm afraid I'm a kind of guy who spends his time going to Pret-a-Manger.
Oh dear, you may lose some votes there. Rory Stewart,
thank you very
thanks
much
very
indeed. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hundreds of millions of litres of milk cross from Northern Ireland into the Republic each year. But in a no-deal Brexit scenario, this programme has been told some of these products could be at risk of going nowhere. Businesses have been advised that the permits needed for some products could take days to clear. Kieran Jenkins reports now.
To continue sending 800 million litres of milk north to south in Ireland each year. To keep Northern Ireland's 1 billion cross-border food and animal trade going. They need something that seems to contradict Boris Johnson's promise the country is ready for no deal. Northern Ireland would need an army of vets in a no-deal Brexit, and they're a long way short. On day one of a no-deal Brexit, every single batch of this milk going north to south will have to have a certificate signed by a vet. You've been told by the authorities here that there aren't enough vets to produce all the certificates to keep trade flowing at current levels. What happens if you can't get a certificate for all this milk?
The whole system grinds to a halt very quickly, and not just for dairies, but for beef and for animal, for everything in the system. We're dealing with a fresh product. On the farm, it becomes critical within 12 hours because the farmer can't milk his cows because his tank's full if we can't empty it. If he can't empty his milk tank, he can't milk his cows, or else he just lets the milk down the drain. So it becomes a crisis very, very quickly, and I'm not sure that politicians who are making decisions in London have any idea of how crucial this is.
The certificates would prove this milk or whatever animal or animal product is being sold over the border meets EU standards. The process will take 3 days.
The difficulty with that is the milk is still in the cow, so that we haven't even collected it on Sunday.
So your milk is still in the animal 3 days before you ship it?
But yeah, of course it is, yeah. We're delivering a fresh product, so...
But you have to apply for the certificate 3 days before you can send it anywhere.
Exactly, that's the conundrum.
Northern Ireland's Department of Agriculture is trying to recruit support staff and add to the hundreds of vets in private practice that can sign export certificates, but also, of course, have a day job. In terms of government-employed vets, 10 more were recruited in Northern Ireland last year, bringing the total to 163. Their present workload means signing off just 18,000 export health certificates a year. But in a no deal, to continue trading with Ireland at current levels, 1.9 million certificates will be required. In Northern Ireland, they reckon they realistically could issue only a fraction of that, 400,000 certificates at best.
This product alone will require a minimum of 3 certificates.
From sandwiches to salads, if it contains a certain amount of animal, No Deal Northern Ireland will be calling the vet.
And we look at the salad here, so we have a number of products here. We have chicken, we have cheese, which obviously contains milk, we have eggs. You know, each various component of this will require a separate certificate.
Signed by a vet?
Signed by a veterinary surgeon.
So all these individual components require a separate paper trail?
That's right.
It's just a mad amount of bureaucracy, isn't it, for a salad?
It is very complex, very complex.
Within a few weeks, potentially?
Within a few weeks. The reality is, will these products still be able to move? You know, will vets be able to require, you know, to fulfill the requirement? It's uncertain.
Assuming in No Deal, this southbound milk truck did get a certificate, authorities in the north are telling business it should next head to an inspection post across the border in Ireland for checks. If somewhere out there the Irish government does put up what are actually called border inspection posts to check animals and animal products, the fear in these communities is they become a target. That's physical infrastructure, everything all sides say they're against. But if they don't put up border inspection posts, what happens to all that stuff coming from north intended for customers in the south?
The whole system we have here of free movement across the border is so critical, not only to business, but also to people's identity and to people's belief in and comfort with the Good Friday Agreement. And they're trying to run a coach and horses through that, and without any respect for the huge effort that all of us made to get to the situation we're in at today.
It's the nightmare scenario for many on this island. No Deal actions to protect trade and jobs may also